If you can please remain standing, let us observe a moment of silence so that we are where we are spiritually as well. Thank you. Thank you very much. Please take your seats. May I please invite my fellow commissioner, the Vice Chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Ms. Janet Love, to take the podium and do the welcoming address, please.
Chairperson of the Commission, Glenn Mashinini, fellow commissioners, Dr. Masuku, Judge Pillay, and Commissioner Moyepia, and our CEO, Simon Mabolo. On behalf of all of us, I'd like to welcome all of you, in particular our honorable ministers, deputy ministers who are present, directors general, your excellencies who are leaders of political parties, heads of Chapter 9 institutions, members of the judiciary, high commissioners, ambassadors and members of the diplomatic corps, representatives of civil society, including faith-based organizations, civil society, traditional leaders, business leaders, labor organizations, and many other interest groups. To the members of the media and to all of our distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is a historic day today as we open this Results Operating Center. We are here for the 9th time, and every time that we have held our results operations in this particular venue, something is different, something is new. In particular, on this occasion, as you sit in a venue where there is 12,000 meters of space, you have more than 1,000 electrical points set up, you are going to have for the first time a leaderboard that will have 48 political parties, 24 parties displayed side by side, and we will be ensuring that this brings to you the results not just only of the national elections, but also the side screens will be dealing with what is happening in our provinces. We have got many people who have indicated that they will be registering or have already registered, including at least 700 journalists representing the media from around the world. And we welcome you, and through you and your good officers, we hope to be able to convey to you today not only our readiness for these elections, but also our commitment to ensuring that they are elections that embrace the nation through a process of transparency, through a process of inclusion, and through ensuring that you are all well informed throughout. Once again, on behalf of all of the commissioners, I welcome you here today, and I hand back to the Mistress of Ceremony.
Thank you very much, Vice Chairperson. Allow me to both introduce the Chief Electoral Officer of the Electoral Commission, Mr. Simon Mabolo, and invite him to come and tell you about this building that we're in and what its significance is. Si?
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. We are muted. We are a very muted audience. Good afternoon. Elections are going to happen, but they won't happen if we are so quiet. Elections require energy, and that energy must be expressed in how we return greetings. Good afternoon. Thank you very much. Thank you, Program Director. May I align myself with the protocol as recognized on our behalf by Commissioner Love. The 2019 national and provincial elections are underway. The first votes were cast on Saturday at our country's foreign missions around the world by those South African citizens living or working abroad. They've done so along with votes cast by members of the South African National Defence Force deployed on peacekeeping and humanitarian missions on the continent. Thank you, Minister, for assisting us with the processes of ensuring that South Africans in the diaspora also have an opportunity to record their political choices. Initial indications are that a significant number of votes were cast by those who had notified the Electoral Commission of their intention to vote outside of the Republic. The cast ballots are now in the process of being securely transported back to South Africa, where they'll be counted before party representatives. The result of this count will be included in the tally for the national ballot after Election Day. The second body of special votes will be cast on Monday and Tuesday when election officials conduct home visits for those voters who are unable to visit voting stations due to illness, disability, or pregnancy, along with voters who will cast their ballots at their voting stations due to their absence from their voting districts on Election Day. In total, we have granted approval to approximately 770,000 voters to cast the special vote in this election. Special voting days are a welcome opportunity to pre-test our infrastructure, logistics, and human capacity before the remainder of the over 26 million voters descend on our 22,000 voting station in 9 days' time. Ladies and gentlemen, Election Day will be a culmination point of 2 years' work in preparing, planning, and training. An election is a dynamic confluence of varied functional components such as legal, infrastructure, logistics, human capacity, and security. In this respect, we have made arrangements for the record 22,924 voting stations to open next week. We have recruited and trained over 189,000 volunteers who will conduct the voting and counting processes. In conjunction with the various state security agencies, including the South African Police Services, we have arranged for security at each voting station and of all the critical voting material and infrastructure. We have printed and distributed over 60 million national and provincial ballot papers. We have procured and distributed nearly 300,000 ballot boxes, 45,000 voting compartments, along with stationery packs, posters, signs, chairs, tables, and security materials. All we now await is the final component, which is the eager participation of the 26.7 million registered voters in whose hands the outcome of the election now rests. Distinguished guests, reaching this point of readiness for a general election is never easy, and preparing for this election has certainly tested the Electoral Commission. Among the challenges we faced includes the collection of addresses for voters, which has preoccupied the Commission over the past 3 years. With a modicum of humility, we are pleased to indicate that we now have full addresses for almost 85% of voters on the voters' roll, and hope to further improve this by insisting, and this is consistent with the legal prescripts, that any voter without an address must provide one before being furnished with ballot papers on election day. No, Nomsa, can I borrow your water? That's what elections do to people. Thank you very much. A record number of political parties have also presented us with new challenges, including longer ballot papers, more ballot boxes required, higher transport and printing costs, and more party agents at voting stations. This gargantuan increase in the number of political parties contesting has also required a slight revision to our traditional layout here at the National Results Center in order to accommodate nearly twice the number of political parties than in previous elections. We have also seen some of the most robust and intense political campaigning for these elections by some political parties. This has certainly kept us and them on our toes over the past few months. But all of this point to a maturing and enhancing multi-party democratic system of governance. Despite these challenges, ladies and gentlemen, electoral democracy continues to flourish and is thriving 25 years on. In conclusion, I wish to use this opportunity to thank our very many stakeholders and partners who have helped us to prepare for these elections and to arrive at this point. Among those who have provided critical support and assistance are the following: members of the executive and government, especially the Interministerial Committee on Elections, the net joints, and the whole security apparatus of our country. Political parties and their leaders who provide critical cooperation and engagement around each aspect of the preparations. Our key sponsor for the ROC Telkom, for their vital telecommunications network and infrastructure, which allows us to communicate with all our voting stations and to collate and finalize results in a period as short and as reasonably possible. To ESCOM, which has given us their best undertaking to keep the lights of democracy burning next week. To various corporates which have availed innumerable and varied support to the Electoral Commission. Through this support, your national responsibility has been so greatly illuminated. To the media fraternity, our partners at the SABC, who provide vital information and education regarding the electoral process, choices that people have in terms of political parties, because without a free, independent, and professional media, we would not enjoy the democracy we all have today. Then, importantly, to each and every official of the Electoral Commission who have worked night and day to once again bring us to this point, our utmost gratitude and thanks to you. We've got 9 more days or so to go. Let's keep it up and do it for our country and its people. And finally, to the voters of South Africa who continue to register and vote in great numbers and with great enthusiasm. You will be the success of this election and of our future democracy. We look forward to welcoming you in your millions next Wednesday. Fellow South Africans, in a nutshell, we take the moment without prevarication to declare that the Electoral Commission is ready to meet and discharge its constitutional mandate. This duty will be discharged in a manner that affirms our collective heritage as proud South Africans. The clarion call is, exer, every voter to the ballot box. Ke a leboga.
Thank you very much, CEO. There you go. May I please take this opportunity to welcome to the podium the Chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Mr. Glenn Mashinini, to give us his address. Chairperson.
It looks like they've switched off the application. Thank you, Program Director, Dr. Masugu, the Vice Chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Ms. Love, Commissioner Judge Pillay, and Commissioner Mr. Miepa, together with the Chief Electoral Officer, Mr. Mamabulo, who is here with the electoral staff members of the Electoral Commission of South Africa. Honorable Minister of International Relations, Terko, Ma'am Sisulu, and ministers and deputy ministers present here today. Also, we appreciate that we have the honorable leaders of the various political party leaders, as well as the representatives of the political parties, who are actually the main stars of this election and are contesting the up-and-coming elections. We also wish to acknowledge the chairpersons of our fellow Chapter 9 institutions present here, High Commissioners, Ambassadors, and members of the Diplomatic Corps who have graced this occasion, the Director Generals, led by Director General from the Presidency, Dr. Lubisi, and the senior and executive officials from the government. We also appreciate the presence of fellow and former commissioners. Here we have Inkosi Nkantolo, Judge Makanya, who is present here together with the founding Chief Electoral Officer of the Commission, Professor Mandla Mchunu. Members of the domestic and international observer missions present here, representatives of the civil society, including faith-based organizations, our NGOs, our traditional leaders, the business leaders, together with labor, organized labor organizations who have managed to grace this auspicious occasion. And most importantly, distinguished guests, we also wish to acknowledge the presence of our key and strategic partners of the Commission, the members of the Fourth Estate, the members of the media, who will be journeying throughout the elections with us and the world. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Commission, it is my privilege and singular honor to welcome you to the opening of the National Results Center, National Results Operations Center for the 2019 national and provincial elections. The opening of the ROC signals the start of the final leg of our journey for these elections. This is the arena where these elections will be concluded and the final results will be announced from here. For many of us here, this is a return to a familiar stomping ground, a place that is filled with great memories and great excitement as we have journeyed over the past 25 years of our democracy. It is indeed the place where once every few years our electoral democracy comes to life before our eyes, the eyes of the world, and before the citizens of this country, and where we actually celebrate our electoral democracy and the Constitution in action. As our CEO referred to it, that this is our constitutional democracy heritage. Distinguished guests, South Africa's elections are founded on our Constitution, which commits us to, I quote, universal adult suffrage, national common voters' roll, regular elections, and a multi-party system of democratic government to ensure accountability, responsiveness, and openness, close quotes. The core principles underpinning a modern democracy are set out by the African Union Charter on Democracy, Elections, and Governance, to which we as South Africa are signatory to. Without being exhaustive, these principles include that the elections should be regular, inclusive, transparent, and credible. South Africa has embraced these principles in every aspect of our electoral democracy, and this Results Center is an integral part of this architecture designed to ensure free and fair elections. As indicated, those principles, this past weekend, we know that South Africa celebrated our 25th anniversary of our first inclusive, regular, credible, transparent, free and fair elections. And we also, it was manifest that it coincided with the international South African voters voting internationally. Once more again, Minister Sisulu, we very much appreciated the exemplary act of all your officers throughout the world that carried this mandate together with the IEC. And this is partnership in best practice that we can display as a country. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we are returning to this venue for the 9th time, as pointed out by our Vice Chair. Since the birth of our democracy over the past 20 years, we have announced the results of 4 previous national and provincial elections and the 4 previous municipal elections. And from this very stage, we have declared each of those previous elections free and fair. And each of these results have been accepted by the contestants and observers and the people of South Africa as a fair reflection of the will of the people. And from this stage, we will again announce the results of these elections next weekend. Distinguished guests, this venue also brings together all the stakeholders of our electoral democracy under one roof. The Electoral Commission is here, and coordinating all the electoral operations and resolving all the issues, objections that will be required before finalizing the results. And from next week, it will be home for the 48 political parties contesting these elections. It will also be a base for domestic and international observers to oversee the conduct of elections and the transmission as well as the finalization of the results. And it is the media center for the elections from where reports will be beamed broadcast to South Africans and to the rest of the world. Distinguished guests, transparency to the Commission is the single most important factor in a credible election. According to Open Election Data Initiative, I quote, "The need for transparency and up-to-date information is paramount to the credibility of any election," close quote. This is further confirmed by the National Democratic Institution, which notes that, open quote, "A transparent election is one in which each step is open to scrutiny by stakeholders who are able to independently verify that the process is conducted according to procedure and no irregularities have occurred," close quote. Back in the township lingo is when we say, as Onoxmen, aziko imbombai. Providing transparency in an election helps to establish trust and public confidence in the process, as it gives all stakeholders the ability to verify the results for themselves. The transparency is also built into the political liaison system, which operates at national, provincial, and local level in preparations and planning of every election. And across the other side, on the right-hand side and to your left, you'll see that is where there will be continuous liaison with all the political parties throughout this period of our election. Further, the transparency is built into each part of our electoral process to ensure that the voting and counting process at every voting station where the party agents and observers can witness and monitor every aspect. It is also built into the system, including the signing of each result slip by party agents, and that the ability to compare the results captured on the system against the results on each of the result slips. Across the floor, the other side of the political parties will see their computers, the other end, and further to this, to the left on the other side, that's where all the results are collated. And those results, they come in one tube at the same time. We, as the Commission in the center, receive them at the same time as yourselves, as the political parties. And you have also evidence of the source document that will be the result slip, which you get anyway from your party agents from the time when they tally and they sign off those results in the voting stations. And this is also, the transparency is built into the system by the watchdog role of the Fourth Estate in holding all of us as stakeholders to uphold our obligations, responsibilities in terms of our laws. Ladies and gentlemen, further, the credibility of our election is also protected and secured through a variety of checks and balances through each stage of the process. Critically, it is the inclusivity and transparency of our counting and result system which provides all stakeholders with the necessary confidence that the results cannot be rigged. This is achieved through, amongst others, one, the verification of the result system by independent auditors and political party representatives to ensure the accuracy of the results capture process and the system. Secondly, it is ensured through the process of capturing the results at each voting station where party agents sign the result slip, which is then posted on the door of each voting station at the end of the counting. And a copy of the result slip is then captured onto the result slip through a double capture process to eliminate and minimize any human errors. Further, it is ensured by making the results simultaneously available to all stakeholders, including the Commission, political parties, and observer, and the media. This means that should any discrepancy arise, any stakeholder can raise this with the Commission for a rapid response. And distinguished guests, this is not about catching each other out. It's about working together to ensure we have election results of integrity and that we leave a legacy of unriggable elections architecture to the future generations. Further, providing everyone with the results as they are captured is one of the key factors underpinning the transparency of and inclusivity, credibility of our elections. But, ladies and gentlemen, may I pause and speak to our political parties and say this transparency does come with a certain measure of responsibility. Only the Electoral Commission can proclaim and announce the results of the election, and therefore we appeal to all stakeholders to respect this. Ladies and gentlemen, this does not mean or say that stakeholders cannot and should not report and comment on the unfolding results as they are captured. But we urge circumspection in making definitive announcements of final outcomes until the Commission has announced the final results. And we hope to announce the final results here on Saturday, the 11th of May. I hope I'm now reaching my conclusion. The Commission will have failed, ladies and gentlemen, in its duty if at this juncture it did not make a clarion call to all South Africans to come out in their millions next Wednesday to cast their votes. At the same time, we call on all those who have been organizing and participating in civic demonstrations as part of their constitutional right to respect the elections process. The right to protest and demonstrate is a right protected by our Constitution and has its roots in our democracy and conduct of peaceful elections. Fellow compatriots, as a nation, we all have a patriotic duty, therefore, to protect and defend our elections and our democracy for this and future generations. As we open the ROC today, we therefore appeal that all South Africans should ensure that the conditions under which elections are held once again bear witness to the world and South Africans that South Africa remains a shining example of a constitutional democracy in action. And I thank you, and thanks, Program Director.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. And I am sure that we are heartened by your words. I've got a fist for you. It's not the kind of fist that will require you to open your mouths. It is a fist that you'll have to indulge in with your eyesight. At this point in time, can I please ask the technology to cooperate with us? And I invite you to watch the following.
Ladies and gentlemen, the IEC Results Operations Center for the 2019 national and provincial elections is now open.
Here we go. This is what it looks like. There it is. I'm going to be like the CEO and say, you're too muted for elections. So come along. It helps if you clap like this. Here it is. Okay, so if I have to walk you through the obvious, in the middle is the national ballot, and on the side are the provincial ballots. So the National Results Operations Center is going to look like this, and we'll be staring at these leaderboards for a long, long time, as we always do. I am sure some of you will be asking us to refresh the leaderboards, and we will refresh them as we need to. Thank you very much for that. May I now, at this point, invite Commissioner Miepe to deliver the vote of thanks, please. Thank you.
Program Director, Dr. Masuku, I want to thank you for this brief moment that you permit me to discharge a responsibility very briefly, which I have been given. I do this on behalf of all of us at the Electoral Commission of South Africa. I accept that the hardest arithmetic to master is indeed that which enables us to count our blessings. And this afternoon, we have many blessings that we are going to be counting. I have been entrusted with the responsibility to attempt to do so, and hopefully well. Work such as the one you and I, or you and us, face in the next week and have to accomplish needs no further introduction. It has been spoken about in the last 24 months. The chairperson, the vice chairperson, the chief electoral officer have also spoken about it this afternoon. This is work that speaks for itself. And so we will do that which we need to do and let the work speak for itself. I want to thank everyone that we work with to facilitate this responsibility. When you are involved with elections directly, such as what we are, all we do is do it on behalf of the many of you. And so it is with humility that we at the Commission need to recognize that we are not even gatekeepers. We are facilitators of this work, which involves all of you. I want to express thanks to the 26.76 million registered voters who are on the voters' roll for the elections on the 8th of May. It is on their behalf and on behalf of the political parties and candidates that are registered or have qualified to contest these elections that we will indeed facilitate these games. We wish them well as they contest. We remind them that theirs is a duty to complete this task with dignity, and we thank them in advance for that commitment. We want to thank all of our viewers across the nation, those that might be listening to us right now, those that are watching us, it is you we look to serving, and we ask you to do everything in your power to assist us even as we serve you. To members of the Diplomatic Corps who never get weary of supporting our initiatives, thank you. To all of our suppliers, people might think ours is to invite you to supply these things, be hard on you, and then pay for those services. But we know that in many instances, you go the extra mile. We speak on your behalf now, even as we say thank you. Government is always a big partner in work that we do in this way. And Minister, I want to acknowledge you this afternoon. DG, I want to acknowledge you. But I think on behalf of the government of the Republic of South Africa, there are many thanks to be given. From security arrangements to all of the work you do when we call upon you to do work. When we go to Treasury and say, this is what we need for the work we need to accomplish. When we speak to you to deal and attend to issues that concern us. And sometimes when we have issues we need to earnestly resolve among us, we thank you for what you have done. And we look forward to you continuing that in the service of our nation. To civil society organizations, you will always be a great part of the work that we do. Thank you for participating in the way that you do. To international and domestic observers, you have arrived. This is the time between now and when the elections are declared, the election results are declared. Take your rightful positions. Do your work with distinction. You will do all of us proud. To our sponsors, thank you. Thank you very much. I don't know work that is facilitated by generosity like the work that we do. For what you invest, may it return to you many times over. To the media, we thank you for informing this nation. Your work is never going to be complete, even after we have declared the results of the elections. Yours will continue, and it is work that requires you to deal with it without fear, without favor, and without prejudice. We ask you to keep true and to be true to that cause. To the Chief Electoral Officer, the staff of the Electoral Commission, the 220,000 electoral officials that will be discharging their obligations in this election, we do not have words to thank you enough for the work you have already put in. But we know this. You are set to complete this race with distinction. My colleagues and I in the Commission love and care for you, and we wish you well for the work outstanding. To the colleagues, we hold hands even as we go forward. This is a nation we serve, a nation to which we are grateful, and we pledge to do nothing less than you would expect of an institution such as ours. Ladies and gentlemen, our nation needs to remain focused and prayerful for the next few days. The world will be watching us. I invite you all to be vigilant and to seek nothing less than doing our nation proud. You have done it before, and I'm sure you have not been counting. Do not count from now on. Let us do it. It is what we have been called to do. To every one of you here present, I may not have called you by name. I may not have related to you personally, but know this: our thoughts, our gratitude, and our prayers are with you all. We are grateful for all of the support, for all of the love, and for all of the care. May South Africa be a better place into the future. And I thank you, even as we complete today. Thank you indeed.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much to Commissioner Moyepia. At this point in time, we come to the end of what I told you would be a short program. But here is what I'd like to say to you. As the National Results Operations Center opens, you will not ever get a chance for someone to walk you through the entire edifice and explain to you what everything is and how it all comes together. I wish to invite you at this point in time, especially for those of you seated in the middle row, to please use this time to do what we call a walkabout around the National Results Operations Center. For political parties and their leaders, we do offer an opportunity for you to have a walkabout and for your leaders to have a walkabout upon request and upon suitable arrangements, and we walk you through and we talk you through. It is quite an adventure. For those of you who are not so inclined, or for some reason have walked too much today, for those people, I invite you to make your way. The ushers will walk you up to what we call the mezzanine side, which is over there, for a little bit of snack, a little bit of mingling, and a little bit of chit-chat with the people that you would not ordinarily meet. May I please invite the Deputy CEO for Electoral Operations, Mr. Masego Shiburi, to come and join me. Masego, this is the point at which you stand up and you come and join me. Thank you. This is the person who will be leading and talking you through the walkabouts. I've tried to do it. It doesn't really work when you're short. You do need a bit of height to do it. So this is the gentleman. He is going to walk you around. He's going to stand over there and lead the walkabout. For the rest of you, if you want to join, please do so. For the rest of the rest, please make your way to the mezzanine. Friends and colleagues, I thank you very much for being a lovely audience, for being a rather muted.
All right, and so that's where we're going to leave it. That's the official launch and the opening of the National Results Operations Center, which you'll hear being referred to as the ROC, from now certainly until not this weekend, but the following weekend, when the final results will be tallied and given to the public, and we'll know who'll be forming their next government. We heard from various IEC officials, from the Chief Electoral Officer, Simon Mabulo, the Chairperson of the IEC, Glenn Mashinini, and IEC Commissioner Masutu Moyepia. And essentially the word from them was that they are ready. There's all the processes are in place now. The elections have well and truly begun, and they gave us an update on the elections that took place in foreign missions around the world, and that seems to have gone off without a hitch. And these votes, of course, will be brought back to South Africa and counted in front of the various parties. And that the chairperson said that by and large what they're trying to do is make sure that these elections are free and fair, as transparent as possible, to gain the confidence of all of the stakeholders. But it's all up to us now as the voters to show up on the day and to help with the 220,000 electoral officers that'll be involved in the process across the country. So it's all systems go. The National Results Operations Center is now officially open, and in the coming week or so, you'll start to see us and a lot of coverage coming out of there, all in preparation for those important elections. We'll be crossing to our senior reporter, Lihana Tosetsi, a little bit later on to give us an update on what happened there today, who was there, and what was said. For now, we take a quick break. We'll be back with more at the top of the hour.